Okay, we'll talk now about Pierre Cuypers, a very important Dutch architect who lived and worked mostly in the 19th century, but a little bit in the 20th century as well. He had a long life. Let's read a little bit about him. Just a second. So Petrus Josephus Hubertus, or Pierre Cuypers, born on the 16th of May 1827, was a Dutch architect. His name is most frequently associated with the Amsterdam Central Station, and I have troubles to read in Dutch, but I'll try. Rijksmuseum is a very important museum in Amsterdam from 1876 to 1885, both in Amsterdam. More representative for his oeuvre, however, are numerous churches, of which he designed more than 100. Moreover, he restored many monuments. This was the man, an intense man, and I would say a rather good-looking man. Here he is as an old man with lots of medals. It reminds me of the fondness that Ibsen, the great Norwegian writer, and very, a very enlightened man, had. He had a liking for decorations. Well, it seems that Cuypers too, or at least he was obliged to wear them in this occasion as an old man, but he lived a long life. Here he is scribbling something on a piece of paper in his studio. An interesting picture and an interesting man, Pierre Cuypers. Pierre Cuypers statue by that sculptor in the Netherlands. Here it is, and I would invite the listeners of this presentation to consider becoming a statue one day. I know it sounds almost funny now to aspire to become a statue, but what is the alternative? To totally disappear? Viollet depicted himself in a statue on top of the roof of Notre Dame de Paris. Anyway, Pierre Cuypers. What is this? I took samples of his work from the Dutch Wikipedia, and since I do not know Dutch, I can't even pronounce Dutch names at all. You can imagine, but this is a church. I mean, it's not even necessary to say it. It's obviously a church. And the truth is, the Netherlands has great old churches and cathedrals. And look at this. Pierre Cuypers, not bad. If he built just this one, and it would have been enough to be, part of the history of architecture. Now, this very famous museum in Amsterdam, perhaps the most famous, I only regret that I hesitate to pronounce the name, although it's probably not so difficult, since the word museum is the 2/3 of the length of the world. Built between 1876 and 1885. So this museum was designed by Cuypers in a combination of both Renaissance and Gothic styles in the late 1870s. The result is similar to Hôtel de Ville in Paris, in what is considered to be French neo-Renaissance style. However, this museum, in this museum, the Gothic elements seem to outweigh the Renaissance and the building, despite the English Renaissance, resemblance or quotations. And chateau-esque roofs is sometimes considered to be neo-Gothic. And here it is. And if you visited Amsterdam, I'm sure you saw it, because it's impossible not to. It's a very famous building by Pierre Cuypers, and now you know who built it. It's the citadel of culture, the citadel of art. Is that him? It might be. And my suggestion to you students in architecture or architects to without a false modesty, to maybe depict yourself in a small detail or ornament somewhere in the spaces that you design, even for a small house, to have a small narrative detail of some sort. It doesn't have to be emphatic, it doesn't have to be sculptural, maybe just an incision into the wall, something to narrate something. Because an untelling architecture is almost no architecture. Let's remember what Paul Valéry said. There are three kinds of builders. One who places a stone above another stone, and that's a builder. And then one who places a stone above another stone and makes them talk. That is a master builder. And the third one who puts a stone above another stone and makes them sing. And his name, he said, Paul Valéry said, is Eupalinos, or the architect. So at least to make them talk, the stones or the bricks or whatever materials you use. Amsterdam, bicycles, canals, and Pierre Cuypers. Yes, it's him. It's him. He depicted himself right there, as the creator of this building. Nice. Is this, narcissism? No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Or if it is, it's a rather humorous and innocent one. I mean, narcissism. And we have here lots of narrations and lots of ornaments and lots of everything because, yes, it was the 19th century. So people are confused. Is this a neo-Renaissance building? Is it a neo-Gothic building? Is it what? Well, why do we have to really name precisely whatever so-called style was used? It's a very rich building. Amsterdam, the city in competition with Rotterdam. Rotterdam, the city of the future, and Amsterdam, to an extent, maybe, although it has modern buildings as well, and some quite impressive, the city of the past, because Amsterdam was not destroyed like Rotterdam was during the deadly Second World War. Pierre Cuypers. But it's, the Cuypers family is a rich family in architects. It wasn't just Pierre Cuypers who was a great architect. There are other members of the family. And look at this beautiful library inside this museum. It is beautiful. It makes you think of something that, and I said this before, and I am saying it again, risking to become boring for the one who already heard me saying this. Victor Hugo said that the book killed the cathedral because until Gutenberg, the message, the written message, the narration was incised in the walls of the cathedral in stone. But after Gutenberg, the message, the narration was housed, so to speak, was received by the paper of the book. So in that sense, the book killed the cathedral. But today, because the books are under the assault of digital, realities or meta-realities, is a little bit in a crisis, I would say. And they want to return to the wall, actually. This was my feeling contemplating some libraries by MVRDV and others, where you have books in inaccessible places. And it seems that the book wants to return to the wall, that it wants to become wall again, like before Gutenberg. Interesting thing. a solitary reader there. An embroidered staircase or stair, or with some embroidered elements. Why not? Again, the ornament cannot be totally avoided and should not be totally avoided and should not be avoided, period. Amsterdam. Amsterdam, the city of canals, but the city also of bridges, because there are hundreds of bridges, and many of them were built by another Pierre. Well, Piet Kramer, a member of the Amsterdam school, a very interesting architect himself, Piet Kramer. But here we talk about Pierre Cuypers. Here there are, contemporary interventions. This is a very famous museum, and works took place after Pierre Cuypers died. So, what is this? A picture from 1885 of the same museum. No cars, right? Now he also built the central station in Amsterdam. Now, really, is the flat modernity with flat roofs and white walls and cubicle and all the rest better than this architecture? I'm not sure. I'm almost inclined to say no, it's not better. You might say this is obsolete, it's old, it's, we don't need this, these ornaments, we don't need so much richness of the facade, but I don't know. What is the gain? A train station, a central station in Amsterdam, Pierre Cuypers. Very different, of course, from the train station, the new train station in Rotterdam. Another church in Amsterdam, Pierre Cuypers, and someone on a horse in front of the church. But the church is not bad, and someone on a horse is not bad either. In the middle of the road, incredible. Amsterdam. Very often we are inspired by Renaissance architecture if we look backwards. But what was wrong with the Gothic? I would say nothing, absolutely nothing. And the 19th century was fascinated by the Gothic architecture. This is not Gothic, it's neo-Gothic, it's the 19th century. But who will say that, the building is irrelevant? No, it's not at all irrelevant. It's very relevant. Because beauty never runs out of fashion, actually. And by the way of fashion, I remember what Oscar Wilde said. He said, fashion is so ugly that we have to change it every 6 months. Here we have modern or contemporary interventions within the building by Pierre Cuypers. castle, 1892-1907. And the castle it is. I don't know, castles are not very appealing to me because it's a function so remote from, someone living in the dust that, a castle testifies about a different social or societal, a structure. A nobleman in the castle, I know that Picasso himself have purchased a chateau, but this kind of castle, which has the illusion that it can defend itself against the bombers sent by Vladimir Putin to the Netherlands, is just an illusion. They're a little bit too. Plus, the association with in one's mind with Walt Disney makes them a little bit, too sweetly, not of our time, I would say. But otherwise, there are interesting spaces here. I mean, look at this great hall, or how to call it. It's not for everybody, of course. You would say almost we are not in the Netherlands here, but we are in the Netherlands. A castle built by Pierre Cuypers. I'm not very fond of this building, but it's not because of Pierre Cuypers, it's because of the function of the building, a castle. But you can imagine Pierre Cuypers being a major architect in the Netherlands, since he built such large buildings, probably for, an important member of the Dutch society. Very important, or family. A chair by Pierre Cuypers, and it's not bad. Massive wood, 3 legs. Maybe not the most comfortable chair in the world, but aesthetically engaging. And part of that building, I imagine, that I just show. A railway bridge. No picture. What is this building that was demolished? A church. And the model. He built many churches. And indeed, in the Netherlands, besides the very remarkable modern architecture, they had many, many churches built. And now we know that Pierre Cuypers was one of the architects who contributed to this. Another museum. So we remember he lived most of his life in the 19th century, and he died in 1920 something. So the building was still under the influence of the historicism that influenced the 19th century architecture. Another church, another spire, another aspiration towards the height, towards God. Maybe it doesn't impress us any longer, this type of architecture, because we don't have the same aspiration for the above that still existed at the time of Pierre Cuypers. But we see the present day cars on the road, and we see the spire of the cathedral built by Pierre Cuypers. And they complement each other in a way, you know. You have the dynamic life of the present through a lot of mobility and unfortunately a lot of pollution. And then we have the vertical dimension, the aspiration towards the above in a metaphysical way, but expressed physically through the spire of the church. The horizontal running towards the physical infinite and the vertical running towards the metaphysical infinite. That is God, the church. So, thank you.